Welcome to session 1 on Autodesk Maya. In this session, we're going to talk about Maya UI and customizing. It's definitely going to give a heads up even for people who are absolute beginners, because it is aimed in such a way that you pick up Maya, you start with Maya, learn the user interface, and then move on to a particular skill. So it is definitely recommended even if you are an absolute beginner. Now, if you go to Wikipedia and search Autodesk Maya, it gives a clear idea about the origin of this package. So it was originally owned by Alias Wavefront, and then Autodesk acquired it little later. So go through this page. This will give you some basic idea about the origin of the package, and it is good to know and interesting to read this information. Apart from that, if you are absolute beginner, you should get on to Autodesk website, and you have the product list. It talks about the various products, and you can click on Autodesk Maya and read information, register here so that you constantly get emails about the updates they are launching in. And then area, again, this is the official forum of Autodesk, and it is a good platform to learn. So they have a lot of tutorials, people from all over the world contribute here. So it becomes a very nice platform for you guys to learn and upgrade. Also, there's a third party site, one of my very favorite site, cgsociety.org. This site has got tutorials from all 360 degrees. You find a lot of professionals contributing free tutorials here. It's got very interesting forums, very inspiring work from artists around the world. And the most important thing is, whenever you are trying to pick up a package, when you start learning, we should also know about what is the benchmark, what is expected out of you when you are when you want to look for a job, when you want to get hired. It's always good to know that what is the benchmark in this particular area I have chosen. So that ways all the sites give, particularly this one gives a very good idea about the benchmark. Let's say you talk about modeling or animation or rigging or dynamics. There are a lot of posts available in the forums which will help you see the benchmark and the kind of quality. They also have something that is very nice workshops. The CG workshops, they're very good platform. It's all these courses, all these workshops are taken by professionals around the world. It's very quick and cost effective. If you want to try, if you want to go one step ahead, definitely these courses will help you and make you a professional. So this is also one nice feature about CG Society. CG Tantra, of course, there's also a very good site with a lot of latest updates, information, forums, work in progress, completed works, and things like that. And you also have Animation Express. This is the Asia Pacific site. That's also got a lot of interesting details and updates about the industry. And you have Animation Nation. This is also a good site to be in touch and see what kind of films are coming up and the updates of the industry. And you also have Animation Forum. You have blender.org. So if you're looking at using your 3D knowledge for commercial work, doing some commercial work, and if you're not able to afford buying a package, you can definitely go into Blender. So Blender is open, I mean it's free, and you get to do a lot of very powerful stuff. You can definitely go even to the extent of creating a nice short film with this. So you can also try and explore this option. It's got a lot of self-learning tutorials which is going to help you kick started. Definitely you can explore this. So this is a third party site. See, apart from this, you have various other sites which I'll be talking as and when we progress, particularly for you know posting a specific skill work. There are a lot of sites that is very specific to a particular skill, so we can keep talking about it as we progress. But in the beginning, it is good to register in all the sites, or at least in few of the sites, and keep a track of what's happening in the industry. Also, you have this Maya learning channel at the YouTube. This is also a good resource from Autodesk itself on various products, and you can definitely visit this particular channel for getting updates and learning it more quicker. I mean, you can subscribe so that whenever they upload a video, you get a message of what's there. That's one resource. And so let's get started. And this is a very user friendly, quick to learn package. And again, we are just going to give straightforward step-by-step tutorials. Basically, we are trying to share what we know. Your feedbacks are much appreciated. So throughout the whole program, every video will try to improve ourselves and make it more presentable, make the lectures more sophisticated, more better based on the feedbacks. So let's get started. This is the first look of Maya. So let's go through all the areas and then see each one of them in detail. You have this title bar that is very common, shows the version of the software and also your file name. The next one is the menu bar. The next one is the status line that's found here. And you have something called as shelves here. On the left hand side you see the toolbar. On the right hand side you see something called as channel box. Again, the channel box is split into two. The below one is called as layers, and again layers are of three types: display layers, render layers, and animation layers. And you also have the time slider here, the range slider. This is the range slider, and you have the status line. You have this option of inputting mel commands here. This is the command response area, and this is basically the helpline. So command response area basically for the scripts that you type in and also for the commands that you execute here. Now when you talk about the advantages of this packages, there are too many, definitely nothing to compare, but just talking about this particular package, it's got too many advantages. Let's talk about the menu bar. The menu that you see here, apart from what you see, there are a lot of hidden menus which is available in this combo box. The moment you click on this, you find various divisions, animation, polygons, all this, and the moment you shift on to a different title, then the menu gets changed. Till assets, it just remains as a common menu for anything that you choose, and you also have muzzle, pipeline, cache. So all this remains as it is, but the in between one keeps changing, as you see here. The keyboard shortcut for shifting F1, of course, is the help that you know, and apart from the help that is available, if you press F1 you can just quickly navigate to the help page of Autodesk. Apart from that, you also have the help menu out there, and that's also quite nicely made. Are some few updates, few additions have been made in the help menu also, where you can just go into this and start clicking on any of the link. Particularly few things I want to show is the area you can browse from here. Bonus tools, definitely highly recommended. You can use this bonus, download this bonus tools and install this. These are add-on tools, and you also have vegetation, that's basically for architecture people. You get a lot of free stuff out there, like so for furniture, tables and things like that. And you also have suggest a feature, something that nice. If you come across in the middle of your work, you feel that you're handicapped with a particular option, you can definitely suggest them implementing no idea. So you can also find in menu. Let's say if I've already typed in joint here, so you can find in menu from that particular area. So these are some of the, apart from your F1, you can also make use of that. What you see here, as I told you, F2 is for animation, F3 is for polygons, F4 surfaces, F5 dynamics, and F6 you have rendering. So the menu keeps changing based on that, but apart from that you also have something called as customize. So let's go to customize and create our own menu set. If I just go and click on new menu set, I can put in a name there. I can just create a menu item. So basically this is an empty thing that you created and you want to add in. The best part about this, I can pick in one from the modeling menu and one from the lighting menu, and I can also pick up something from the render menu, rigging menu. So I can just create a customized menu for myself, and you get to see that here. So once I go to my menu, you get to see what you created here. That's quite interesting. And apart from this, you know this new, open and save, these three buttons, they're quite common. And you have something that's very interesting in a workflow called pick mask tools. Now pick mask tools help you when it comes as a rescue whenever you have a whole scene set up and you are navigating through the scene and you want to select only a particular geometry or a particular object in your scene. So let's go and quickly create certain types of geometries. I'm using the menu because you can also know, if I start clicking from the shelf, you might not know where is that available in the menu. So I'm just creating certain objects from here. You have this transform gizmo, the keyboard shortcut is W. So W E, I mean it's basically called QWERTY tools, Q W E R and T Y. We'll see those things in detail. So just as of now, you can remember this keyboard shortcuts. Q is just a select tool. If I press Q in my keyboard, it's just a select tool. W gives you a transform gizmo. It is select and move. E, select and rotate, right? And if you go to settings and preferences, this is the master place for setting up things which are default. You want to change something that is default in Maya, you can go here to preferences. And probably, I think the rotation manipulator is so thin and I'm not able to see that properly. You can go into manipulators and increase the line size here. So the moment I do that, I'm able to see that's better than before. Have that here, right? And so what we're trying to understand is create various types of geometries. Then let's go and create a CV curve. Let's just go and create a curve there. And let's also go and create a joint. So let's just go and create a joint here. And let's also go and create something from the dynamics menu. Let's go to particles and create an emitter. So you get the emitter here. And let's go and create a camera, right? So you almost have everything there. And in a typical scene, when you start working on a project or you get a commercial shot, you'll have all these types of elements, and basically pick mask tools are there to help you out and filtering your selections. Let's say for example, if I want to choose in only the geometry, then I can left click here, say all objects off, and choose only the geometry here, only the surface here. So the NURBS geometry is also selected, and then I can choose the polygon geometry, but rest nothing gets selected. And at the same time, wherever you see this small drop down kind of thing near the mouse cursor, there is a right click menu available. So in this right click menu, you can just put off the NURB surfaces. The moment I do that, I will not be able to select the NURBS, wherein I can go and choose the polygons. Comes really handy. Similarly, you have this so this is basically a selection handle. If you ask me what is a selection handle, then to give a very quick intro about selection handle, imagine the cube is inside the sphere, and of course you can choose select all this by name in window, and outliner you can go and choose everything by name, right? So you can navigate through whatever you created just by selecting through the names. Apart from that, if I need to quickly go and select this in the viewport, I can make so because the shell, I mean the sphere is also there, so you can choose this, go to the attribute editor. Control A is basically a toggle button between the attribute editor and the channel box. So this is the channel box and this one is the attribute editor. I call this channel box a petty shop and this one a supermarket, because almost all the attributes, everything is available here. Let's go to the pcube1 tab here. This is also one of a special advantage, a special feature of Maya, where every object has also got a connected shape node. So let's come to the shape node in a little while. Let's go to the object node. Right, in the object node, let's open up display. In display, let's put on the handle and go and put in a value here. Let's type in a value of 3. And you should be able to see this. The moment you put on display handle, you can see this plus sign coming up here. These are basically X, Y and Z axis. You can hold control in your keyboard and start changing the values. You can just control right mouse button. You can just type in a value, or you can just scroll up and down a value. So let's put in 3, and this becomes a shortcut for you to choose. Right now I'm not able to select because the selection handle button is off. So let's switch off the surfaces, go to selection handles and choose this. So you'll be able to select the surface quite easily, and it stands like a shortcut for choosing items in your scene. You also have joints. I mean, you right click on this definitely and check. Apart from selection handles, we also have something called as IK handles. So if you don't want to select IK handles, you can keep this off. By default, you can just keep them on. And the joints, so as you know, you can just go and choose the joints if you want to work only with them. Again, the curve thing, so you can just go and select the curves. Surfaces, you have deformers. Again, deformers, you have quite a list here. And particles, if you want to select only the particles, you can just choose this and just drag and select only the particle systems available here. So that way this also comes very handy even in complicated shots. Quickly choose render, lights, cameras and textures. Right now I'm not able to select anything because everything is off. Let's put this on, and I drag and select, only the camera will be selected. And then you have the question mark, this IK end effectors, locators and dimensions. Basically this is, as the name goes, it's a quick way of selecting only those elements here. It also includes local rotation axis. Then you see this lock button here. If I go and choose a particular object, let's just go back to the default thing. Let's go to all objects on, and also this one, these three buttons out there, hierarchy, object mode and component mode, they are also very interesting. The default is the object mode, right? If you go and choose uh, let's say the component mode here, basically F8 is the keyboard shortcut for this. F8 is a toggle between the component mode and the object mode. If you get onto the component mode, you'll easily understand what is happening here, and you want to get back, just press F8 in your keyboard. You also have something called as hierarchy here. As the name goes, hierarchy button. Let's open up the outliner. Okay, if I want to make the cube as a child of the sphere, just middle mouse drag and drop it inside. That's one way of doing it. Or select the child first, then select the parent by holding Control in your keyboard. Press P, right? Then you define a relation, that's a parent-child relation. And also the same thing from the menu, select the parent last, and then go to Edit and Parent. Parent. So you get this. If you want to unparent it, just choose the child, go to Edit and Unparent, or simply middle mouse drag and drop it outside. So it works. Now if we are defining a relation, parent-child relation, right, so this becomes a parent, okay, the sphere becomes a parent and the cube is a child. So you know, one click, one selection here, both of them is chosen. At the same time, there's something else called as grouping in Maya. Again, this is a very powerful aspect of Maya called grouping. If you go and choose this two objects and press Ctrl G in the keyboard, right? So you have a very quick group created, and if you open this up, you can see the components of the group. Now the best part about the group is it has got a completely new transformation node here, transform node here. So it is as good as having an independent pivot and an independent transformation node. So it's like one object having two pivots and two transformation attributes. You create two groups, then you know, it's like three transformation coordinates and three pivots available there for you. There's also a very powerful feature. We'll be exploring this a lot as we start progressing on our learning process. Now as of now, what we were trying to understand is the hierarchy button. So if I go here and click on this, right, the moment I do that, I click on this, and a single click I'll be able to select the whole hierarchy. Now the drawback is, even after grouping, that's advantage also, I'll be able to select objects individually, like what you see here. Even after grouping them together, I'll be able to select them individually in the viewport. But if I click on the hierarchy button, one click, it goes to the top hierarchy there. You get this? So let's get back to the object mode here. Just make sure if something is going wrong in your scene, either when you're selecting, if you're seeing the components, it simply means you are here, you have to get back. Same goes with the hierarchy. And I guess the pick mask tools are clear. You also have a lock button here. That's also interesting. Let's if you want to lock a selection, after making a selection, if you want to just lock it, press this on, and you'll not be able to select anything out there, right? And the next one is also very interesting. If we go here and choose a particular vertex, right? If suppose this is on, if I go and click on this, the component, the selection mode just remains in the component mode itself. But if I go and keep this off, the moment I click anywhere else, it goes to the object mode. I hope you get this. So it's like, I'll just quickly repeat this. If you select a vertex, okay, and go and click anywhere, it goes to the object mode, one step up, right? But if this is on, then your component selection remains wherever you click, irrespective of that. It doesn't go to the object mode, it doesn't go to the object level. And you also have various snap options, right? By holding X in your keyboard, it goes into various, I mean, by holding X in your keyboard, it snaps on the grid. By holding C in your keyboard, you can snap an object to the curve. As you can see here, this is snap to the curve. Using the middle mouse, you can just take it anywhere you want in the curve. So C is the shortcut for this, and snap to point, V is the keyboard shortcut for snap to point. By holding V in the keyboard, you can just snap it to different points. This is not only for the same object, this is also applicable for different objects, like you can just go and choose them and snap it there, right? And you also have making live has got various usages. It depends on what you want to do. Let's say you have an object here and I make this live. Go to create EP curve tool or CV curve tool, like so. Once you make it live, you can just go and draw on the surface of the object. So that becomes if you just go to modify make not live or click on this button again, you can see this drawn on the surface. Also you can just quickly go and create a construction plane. You can just go and create a construction plane here, and even the construction plane, if you want to create a certain curve here. The problem is, let's say if there is no construction plane and you try to create something in the perspective, press enter, it always ends up in a mess like what you see here. I mean, it just gets created flat on the ground. So if you want to create something like this for your modeling purpose or for something that is very specific, you can make it live again. Go to create EP curve tool and start creating a curve on the surface, and make not live. So it's there. So even if you get rid of this, the curve is just there, right? So this is quite a useful tool. And again, the usability of each one can differ, and we can have various examples for one single option. Also, you have something called as input output connections. This is a very important aspect of Maya. Let's say, for example, we pick up a cube. Let's extrude this. Okay. So perform this action, or you can perform any other action. You can just go and perform anything else from the menu. Basically, for understanding purpose, this is good enough, and you get any action that is done. You get this notes out there, and anytime you can go and alter them from here. Just selecting this, middle mouse dragging in the viewport, middle mouse and drag, you get to edit this. Let's select this. I want to choose a different layout. This one is called as a panel, and this panel actually forms a layout, right? So if you want to define a new layout, you can go into panels, panel editor, and in panel editor you can just go into layouts and create a new layout here. You can name this and start adding things there. So my layout, you want to go to edit layouts. In edit layouts, you can just define a particular way you want this to be set up. Let's say 4 panes split top. You can just do that, and you can define contents like 1 2 3 4. You can choose from here, or you can choose it later on. You can just do that little late after you create. So all these panels put together, they form a layout, right? So let's go to panels, and whenever you want to choose uh, a different panel, let's say right now we have front and you want to go into something else, let's go to node editor here. Okay, similarly, let's go to panels, panel, and choose an outliner here. You have this, and you can also take off a copy here. This is also one nice option wherein you can just take a copy there for the viewing purpose. You can have this. Okay, let's come back to this. Okay, so you perform certain actions, and these are saved right there. And if you don't want to extrude phase 1, you can get rid of it, right, without affecting phase 2. If I go and choose polycube 1 now, you will see this the in between one, extrude phase 1, is no more available there. And this is a very powerful workflow in Maya, right, called as dependency graph. Now let's undo this, and I'll create one more and define a relation. So let's just create one more and define a relation between them by getting on to animation editors and expression editor. The reason why we are talking about all this is to understand these two buttons. You left click on this, you get to see all the input nodes available here, and you left click on this again, you get to see the output nodes here. So this one, if I choose, you will see extrude coming up here. Since this one doesn't have any other nodes, any other operations performed, it has just got a polycube. Output for this, there's nothing out, I mean nothing right now. So let's go and define something. So whatever you define on the left hand side would be logged. Let's say for example, if we go and rename this 2, right, and let's take up the translate y of this, and middlemost drag and drop it here. I'm going to log this translate y to the this one. So okay, let's name this 1 and quickly do this again. Let's call this 1. Okay, so let's take this translate y of the 2, and I'm going to define a relation saying 1 dot rotate y. So the moment I do that here, okay, I take up the rotate tool and start rotating this. Okay, you can see this as I rotate, this goes in the y-axis, right? So you know I've defined a relation now, and this comes very handy. If I go to all outputs, you know, you get this pop-up window, the operation that's been performed here, which can be reused, connected at any point of time. Apart from this, you also have the construction history on and off. Also you have this render views here, so let's go and click on this. Basically you get a render of the objects in your scene now. So if I go and click on the previous render, it's going to show up the last render for you, and this one is the current render. IPR is also a very good option, interactive photorealistic rendering. You can grab any area, create a rectangular marquee, and let's say if I go and apply a material on this, okay, let's say if we change the colors of the material, it gets updated here. I hope you get the idea of this, right? And you also have render settings here. So if you want to set up a camera for this, and as of now, if you go into resolution gate, the renderable area, it's 640 480, as you see. You can just come down and change it to full HD, right? You have HD 1080. You can, you know, change the resolution, and also much more in the render settings window. And you also have the next window that's got absolute transform, relative transform, rename and select by name. This is also a very interesting place where you can define values. Let's say if I go and put in 3 here, okay, then you can see this object moving 3 units. Let me also show you the channel box. You get to see 3 here. Right now I am an absolute transform. If I go and put in let's say if I go and change this to relative transform and type in 3 here, okay, it adds on to the previous value because it is relative transform. From the absolute, it adds on 3 plus 3, it goes to 6. If you just move on to the absolute transform and type in 2 here, it comes back, it just takes up only that value. From 6 it is just going into the 2 value. Also you can use the same thing, like relative absolute can be used in the channel box by typing in plus is equal to 1. Then this is a relative value here, plus is equal to 5. I'm defining a relative value, straight away typing in something, just moving on to the absolute value, right? And also you have rename. Rename is also very good and interesting stuff. Let's just take this off and keep this one maybe somewhere here. Okay, I'm going to take a copy of this. I'm going to take multiple copies of this. As of now, we have duplicated certain copies of this, right? Now what we're going to do is try and understand how the rename function works. So let's choose all this. If I go to the outliner, you can see all this has got a certain name out there. So if I want to rename them to something interesting, I'm going to rename here and type obj there. So the moment I do that, you get to see the names changed of the object. And also, with nothing selected, if you just go into the select by name and type in star, press enter, it chooses everything in your scene, including the shape nodes, including even a history, even the history, everything gets selected. So don't try this in a heavy scene, your Maya will get stuck, only the star thing. But using this effectively in a very big shot which has got too many objects, even in a rig which has got too many controls, you can just go and type in certain wildcard numbers. You can type in certain wildcard numbers here, like asterisk, the star key. You can just go and let's say you want to select all the objects that's got name of obj. So let's go to obj and type in star here. The moment I do that, then everything gets selected, whichever has got obj in its name gets selected here. I hope that covers almost everything of the status line here, right? And then we will move on to the shelves. So let's move on to the shelf editor. You have the shelf editor window here that can be opened up. You also have window settings and preferences and shelves, right? So both the window is absolutely the same window. The first look, you have left and right. So left is basically the tab names, the main categories which can be moved up and down. You can also create a new one by just clicking here and naming them. Um, okay, and you also have on the right hand side the contents of this particular shelf, which can be added by holding control and shift in your keyboard. You can just put in various, by holding control shift, just clicking on the menu, you can add things. Even you can put in let's say an option box here. It works quite fine. So you get the option box, you get the window there, and you also get an action out there. So all this is possible. Just refresh and you get to see all of them here. The same thing, you can just create a new command here, moving the stack, and you also have the deletion key, I mean, in case you want to get rid of something. So you have the icon preview here, right? If you want to define your own icon, let's say if I want to do something on my own, that is also quite interesting. If I go to the shelf editor, I mean script editor here on the right hand side corner, just go to edit clear all. Script editor is a master window where it reflects any command that you do, any action that you perform in the form of a script. So it's a good window to self-learn also. This one is called as the history window. What has happened, whatever you executed in the form of a a menu or whatsoever is getting reflected here. And the other one is the input window. So input window has got two tabs, Mel and Python. Let's be at Mel, and let's choose in this one, start moving it there. So start moving it here, and let's just do few other alterations. I'm going to just select this guy and middlemost drag and drop it into this. I'm going to reset this. Let's just select this and reset this one, right? And let's say if you go back to this, I mean just go back to this, and let's choose this four controllers. Okay, and let's select this one, put it there. So you click on this, it goes there. You click on this guy, it comes back. So basically, this is a simple, common sense of using it, though you have a much better way of doing it. This is more like, using this reflection and putting it there. You can definitely write in a proper script to execute the same thing. But as of now, you get the idea. We have put in this two things here, and let's go to the shelf editor, and you see this uh, commands getting reflected here. So my shelf has got two of this contents, right? And if you want to give it a name and a icon, your own icon, let's choose the first one. Okay, and let's call this icon label sad. Okay, and it gets reflected there, and I want to choose the second one and call this NTRL, so it becomes neutral there, so that is also getting reflected. So you can just go and choose a particular color for this. Starts looking nice. Actually, you can spend some time to make it more fancier here, so that is really good. And you also have this transparency thing, which the more you change it, the better you see that. So I will add some black to this, right? So, and also the icon image can also be changed from here. I already have certain icons here listed here, so you can go and change icons from here. Okay, and transparency, as it told you, if you want a custom background color, you can just go and choose a custom background color for the whole thing. So let's say if I want to go and choose yellow here, so it becomes really nice. uh, you can set up and create your own customized icons there, right? Now you also have command here that actually reflects the whole command. It's basically a selection clearance we have done. It's about, see, if I click on this, you have still this one selection left, but you click on this neutral, there's nothing that's selected. We just wanted to get an idea, and we have done it. So you get the command, and there's something called as double click command, and you have pop-up menu items here. So let's go to double click command. Double click command, this would be a better example. Let's double click this, and this, nothing that happens as such. You don't get to see anything that happens here, right? So if you want to put in a double click command in this place, right? So this is also very handy and useful. Animation, so you have this open up right click menu, you have this edit here. Okay, that's the command of this one, edit pop-up. So that's the pop-up menu item that can be added in, and you want to get rid of it. So it's got a right click menu also. But if you go to the double click menu, I wanted to record certain thing. Let's go to animate, set key, option box there, right? So you get the option box here, but probably it's not reflected, it's not getting reflected here, the option box. So I'm going to repeat it again by going on to history and say echo all commands, and see, probably whenever you don't see, so just to understand this, we can also try and put in something else. Let's say if I go to display grid option box, okay, I'm going to click on this, and you have options here. I'm going to middlemost drag and drop it there. Close this. Say you have this command, you have the double click command here. So you have shelves command and double click command. Okay, so this three is available here. I'm going to double click on this, and I see the grid options here. So it's about how you want to customize, that's it. So you by double clicking on this icon, I want the grid options to open. Doesn't make any sense right now, but you get the idea. And you have pop-up menu items, right? So pop-up menu item is also something interesting, where you want to go and add your own customized menu. Let's say, for example, if I want to create something new here, use a menu item. Let's name this let's say cluster. Okay, and let's get rid of this. Go to clear all, and let's go to create deformers and a cluster. Maybe I want to put off the echo all commands here. Go to edit clear all, and then go to deformers and create a cluster. So when I do that, you get this command here. I'm going to drag and drop it there. Okay, and you have in the pop-up menu items new cluster. So if I right click this, I should be able to see cluster coming up here, right? So if for an example, if I create a sphere, and let's move the sphere here, just select this, right click and say cluster, I should be able to see a cluster coming up there. I guess this is clear, right? So basically a lot of possibilities there in the shelf itself, and the best part about shelves, you can definitely take it and say, I mean, transport it, like you want to your friend to reuse. You created shelves and icons and you wanted your friend to reuse it. Just go here, save all shelves, and you know the path of the shelves, right? And you want to take in this particular my shelf here. So let's go and maximize this. You can see it clearly. This is the path of it. So let's go and just copy this, run command, paste it there. You get to see that, and my underscore shelf is available for you. You can just transport it, send in through email, and your friend can start using the stuff that you created. Also, let's go and get on to keyboard shortcuts. Basically, keyboard shortcuts is available in the window hotkey editor. So it's called as hotkeys, right? That's keyboard shortcuts basically. And the first thing you want to do is just say list all, and if you want to just go through one by one by just seeing what is control shortcut, what is alt shortcut, and you want to just see everything, you can go and check out here. Also, you can go and create your own keyboard shortcuts. So that's one part of it, and you can also write in scripts at this particular area. So let's start with creating a keyboard shortcut for the toggle of the status line that we just learned. So let's go to display. It should be available in display. Let's slowly see this, and we get this display. And again, just come in, and you see something called as toggle status line toggle. So you have this toggle status line here. Okay, let's pick this up. This is what just now we learned, so it will be easy for us to create a shortcut for us meant for this. So let's go to control. So just so before assigning a shortcut, let's query this. So I'll put on control and then click on this button and call this control F1. And control F1, it says it's assigned to nothing. So let's assign this. Okay, and try this out by just pressing control and F1. So control and F1 is toggling my status line out there. Similarly, just now whatever we created in shelf, let's try reusing it here. Probably we'll create that in the animate thing. So let's go to the animate, select it, and just click on the new button here. And I want to make expression sad. Okay, this is the expression that we have already created. So if we have to reuse what we did before, just go to left click shelf editor, and in shelf editor we already have, we know the place. This is the one that we wanted to reuse. Go to command. Okay, just select this, middle mouse drag and drop it there. When you middle mouse drag and drop it there, and say accept, you get this expression sad there. And you can go to control and F3 is assigned to nothing. Let's assign this. Let's test this out. So let's hide it and press control F3, and he's moving in there, right? So also you can write in description of what this is. So if your friend wants to read, or if your team member wants to read what this is all about, you can definitely do. Apart from this, you can also reuse the same thing in marking menu. Let's go to Windows, settings and preferences, and you have marking menu editor here. So in the marking menu editor, you can just reuse, and definitely this is something which you need to explore, where you have the common modeling panes. If by pressing, see, marking menu basically is this kind of menus that just showed you. You have the single perspective. If you want to go to perspective graph, basically this all this different menus are quite handy in Maya and unique to Maya. Go to perspective outliner. So every zone has got its own menu. You need to explore and remember them, so that you can start using effectively. But as of now, let's go and create our own marking menu. So let's make use of the middle one, left, middle, and right. All this has got the views. The perspective is okay. Left is empty right now. So common modeling panes, you don't have left. Left is available only. Middle and right is on. So we can make use of the left, right. So the first thing is create marking menu. In create marking menu, let's say expression, let's go into the shelves and choose the next one. Go to command, right click on this, go to edit menu item, just select this middlemost, drag and drop it here. Let's call this neutral. Okay, and let's save this. We don't want a checkbox or a radio button here. So the moment you do a checkbox or a radio button, let's see checkbox, and you want option box also, save and close. So you get this NTRL. Okay, and you can just left click to check here. You get this NTRL option box. This is what you have as this both the options that you created here. You can uncheck this. You have the option box here. Let's give it a different menu here. One, save this. Okay, I have this one here, and I want this to be used in the hotbox. Okay, by holding the left mouse button, apply settings. So when I go here, left mouse button, I get the menu that I just created here. So let's choose this one, hotbox. So you have this hotbox here. By holding the left mouse button in the center, apply settings. So you can see that here, right? So by pressing in Control F2, you get this. Control F3, right? Control F3, you get this. And let's just quickly go to this thing, left click and say new. It comes back to normal. Control F3, and then you get this marking menu here, which can be used in the middle. It goes back to normal. I hope this is quite handy. Okay, let's also discuss about certain tips and quick, very basic things for absolute beginners. You see this particular layout, it looks quite different. If you go to Windows settings and preferences here, and under UI elements, you have a master place. By default, if I go to edit and restore default settings, this is what you get, right? This is how your Maya looks, along with a single perspective view. This is how your Maya looks when it starts up. You have this single perspective view. Alt B in the keyboard will help you shuffle between different colors in the viewport, right? So it's based on Alt B for bat. So you have this colors shuffling, and also you have something called as use layout specified below. This is something that I regularly use for different skills. If you're working on a particular let's say if you're working on a material editor, then you can just choose something that's got hyper shade, or if you're working on animation, you can choose perspective graph outliner. And you know, you want to do something completely different and you want to keep that layout, that also you can do. Like if suppose I go to save layouts and something lighter perspective hypergraph, then I want to keep this. Then let's go and say keep current layout, reset viewport and panel settings. You can just put it off and save this. So when we do that and keep going to new scene, it will still remain there, right? So otherwise, if you want to reset it back to the older one, you can reset it, or you can just go to use layout specified below, and this is the default one, and reset viewport and panel settings. You can keep it on and save this, right? So also, so whenever you start a new scene, you get a single perspective view. Alt right mouse button to dolly. You can also use a middle mouse button. Alt and middle mouse button, you can just pan this, and left mouse button you can orbit the viewport. 3D is basically all about time and space. So it's just like you go to display, heads up display, and put on origin axis. You get a reference coordinate system, and even the colors are you know, reflected throughout. You go in graph editor, then Y will always be green. You know, so channels will also be reflected using this particular colors. Grid is a unique thing about a 3D package. Any 3D package that you see, you will definitely find a grid. you have this intersection of these lines. Of course, if you go to orthographic, you can see it in a different form altogether. The intersection of this all these 3 points is a reference coordinate system where x, y, and z the values are 0, 0, and 0. That's more like a world center. From here, the world starts, and the space is infinite. You can just keep creating stuff. If you want to get started in a different way altogether, you can also try this, where control M, as I told you, the menu goes off, shift M, the panel menu goes off, control shift M, there's also the other one goes off, control space bar, you can go to the expert mode, and you can just press the the space bar here. When you press this, you get the hot box, the menu out there, and you can access the whole thing from here. Window settings and preferences. If I go on to this, I can also put off, put on something that I need, or I can switch it off totally out there. So that's based on my comfort level. You also have in the interface. Right now the menu set as animation. You have show menu bar in the main window. That's we have put it off. In panels, that also we have kept it off. So we know the keyboard shortcut for this. Paint toolbar, we know the keyboard shortcut for this. Show title bar, I'm going to keep that off so you don't see the title bar also now. It's up to your convenience. In script editor, so this is basically if I go to window, general editors, and open up a script editor, okay, you get to see, let's just make this small, you get to see the script editor here, okay. And the moment you keep this also off, it's better you put it on. So this is for the script editor, okay. And also remember size and position. This is something that's important, that's easy to understand also. Remember size and position. Let's say for example, if we open up press this window, animation editors, and graph editor, right? So I do certain work with this and I keep it there and I close this. Then I go again, window, animation editors, and graph editor. It opens up the same place, same size, right? The moment I take this off, remember size and position, now you go to window, animation editors, and graph editor, it just opens up as a default thing. It doesn't remember the previous setting. This is a nice one that I really like about it. And you also have something called as whole focus. Whole focus is nothing but if you get on to all the U elements there, right? So we'll put on the paint toolbar in main window, and let's go to display U elements and put in the command line. Okay, you get to see the command line here. Now whenever you have this whole focus, right, whole focus, if this is on and we create a sphere, when type in a sphere, press enter, you get this, and the cursor just remains here. That's focus. It's there. If you let's get rid of the sphere and let's take off the whole focus and type in sphere, press enter, then the sphere gets created, but there is no focus. You want to type in something, then no, it's not seen out there, right? So these windows are quite interesting and nice to use. So let's put this off again. Let's get back to the original mode. So let's in script editor, you can keep this, remember size and position, okay, and save this. Let's go to file, new scene, okay. There's also something interesting called as pivot points of Maya. So let's go and create a polygon cube, okay. There's something very powerful aspect of Maya where pivots are animatable. So let's if you want to edit the pivot, D in your keyboard. If you also hold V in your keyboard, you can just move the pivot to the various junctions of the object, right? It snaps to the object. I'm just pressing Control Z there. If you press just insert, it's more like a toggle button. You can edit the pivot to whatever position you want. Again press insert. So this is more like you'll have to just press it 2 times. D is quite quick and interactive. We have a very good amount of workspace available now. Particularly if you are restricted to the desktop size, you can make use of this opportunity. You also have something called as view cube. That's really good to navigate into different spaces, different views. And if this is disturbing, you can go into Windows settings and preferences option, and you can just take out the view cube from here. You can just put this view cube off from this place. So everything is, nothing is there apart from the grid, and even the grid you can just take it off. Display grid option box, you can just, this box you can get rid of. Okay, now if you want to navigate to a particular thing, you can just go hold the space bar, and if you want to show the time slider, you can do that. And if you are doing some real good animation, so if you are working on some, so you can just show the time slider by clicking here and putting this on. You can also go to Windows settings and preferences, and just go on to the time slider tab, make it 4x, so you can get to see that clearly. If you want to see the channel box, again just left click here and move on to the channel box. You have this attribute editor and channel box. You can just shuffle between them. These are some interesting ways of working in, and the moment you create any object, right, and you can easily do layering and organizing here. So the moment you click with the object selected, it goes into the layer. V for visibility, T for template, and R for reference. So let's go to Window, Settings and Preferences, you have display. So in display you have shade templates. If you put this on and save this, right, so even a template it should be shaded. So reference will not be able to select this. Of course, what we feel right now is 1 hour is we have only covered 2% of the user interface, so long way to go. Probably we'll talk about each one in detail as you get comfortable. Maybe another 4 hours, 5 hours. Let's see how it goes. There's no plan right now. It's only about covering everything as much as possible. Push it to the extreme limits. Also, as a trainer, I've kept a lot of checkpoints in between this this session, and serious learners will definitely have a lot of doubts. Feel free to write in your doubts to Reno@framebox.info, which you'll see at the cover page of this video. So let's continue this more on layers.